Welcome to this new episode of GluTeen, the podcast where we talk about the realities and stories of the youth of today.
In this episode, we're so excited to meet our two special guests in this episode of Vege-Meet.
Hi again.
We're back.
We're back.
Yeah.
If you could see and observe, it's just Kavai Zai and Kavai Queenie right now.
Yeah.
Because where is Kavai Dale? Is he on a date?
I don't know. I think he's in his house. Still not on a date. Yeah,
Unfortunately.
I hope he's listening right now and not
Mm-mm.
going out on a date.
He's on a date with his sickness.
No, yeah.
Oh, so to Kavai Dale and to all our Kavayans, Kavai Dale is not feeling well. So to you, Kavai Dale, please do get well soonest. We'll be
because
praying for you.
we miss you and Soya soon. Yeah.
Are you sure of that, Zai?
Yeah,
That
we
we're
miss
missing
his
him.
jokes.
We miss his humor, of
Yeah.
course. So we'll see you soon, Kavai Dale. We're claiming for that.
Yeah.
Now, I want to greet everyone. Good day to
Good-
all of you.
good
It's
morning,
a
good
brand new
afternoon, good
episode of GluTeen. And today we're going to meet two very important people.
Yeah.
And we're introducing them later on.
Mhm. And before that, I would like to shout out this one particular person who has always been bugging me to shout him out. So, hi, Sam. He is actually a grade 7 student who is watching us. And it's very
Wow,
interesting
praise
now.
God.
There are so, our viewers, our listeners come from a wide range of ages. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Sam, hi. Shout out to you. Ay, nagpangutang na akong shout out. Okay? We appreciate it very much that you are watching and listening to us.
Thanks to you for tuning in, and it's our aspiration that teenagers, Generation Z's would be able to listen
Mhm.
and to watch us and learn from us,
Yes,
by God's grace. So, what's his name again?
His name is Sam, like the book of Psalms.
Oh, Sam. Hi, Sam. Good
Yeah.
day to you. And I hope that you would keep tuning in this podcast, GluTeen. And I
Mhm.
would also want to shout out to, of course, there was someone also who requested me. We shouted out.
Shout it out.
We shouted out, no, her last time, but I want to repeat that again. Shout out to Kavai Deborah Tipdas, who is from South Philippine Adventist College.
Mm.
And actually, she is a graduating college student soon. So here's to hoping that graduate na gyud ka, Dai.
Congrats.
Congratulations in advance. So we really appreciate these people,
Yeah.
Zai, no, who really take time to listen and
Mhm.
to watch our show.
Yeah. And so today we would also like to show, in a way for us to show appreciation for them who tune into us, we will also entertain the questions and the answers of our kavais.
That's right. So we have solicited questions from we have solicited answers. I
Yeah.
mean,
Answers.
from the questions that we post to
Mm-mm.
our kavayans or online viewers or online listeners, and we gave them two questions, Kavai Zai.
Yeah.
And there are two answers as well
Wow.
that we got. Praise God for that.
Yeah.
Now for the first, are we ready? Are we
I'm-
ready to
I'm ready. My seat is ready.
process their
Yes.
responses? And you Kavayans who are watching and listening, you can also interact with us through our Facebook Live in our different Facebook pages in Mountain View College Bukidnon, MVC Media Center, and our official Facebook page in this program,
Yeah.
GluTeen Podcast.
And also, we are on Twitter. And if I remember correctly, we are on Twitter. We also have an Instagram and TikTok. So you guys can follow us in that platforms.
And they could also access us anytime, anywhere in Spotify.
Yeah.
So you just search GluTeen Podcast, and whatever you do, you can listen to this podcast.
Yes.
So, Zai,
Yes.
these are the two questions. I'm going to read first the first one.
Okay.
Okay. Was there ever a time that you blamed sige na lang, later.
Okay.
Let's have a short recap there
yeah.
of the topic last time. But this is the question. Was there ever a time that you blamed others for your own mistakes?
Mhm.
So, to our kabayans who were not able to watch our previous episode,
Mm-mm.
the Tokwa episode, we discussed about the blame game.
Yeah, the blame game.
Why is it that we blame ourselves? Why is it that we blame others sometimes? So can you have a brief and short recap about what transpired last episode, Kabaizai?
Okay, I'll try to put it in a few sentences.
Mhm.
Basically, human as we are, we tend to blame others or something, our circumstance, ourselves, others, based on what happened, a
Mm-mm.
negative thing that happened. And yes, that is sometimes not healthy toward ourselves and to others. So when we tend to blame others or blame ourselves, we must come back to Christ who took the blame. He took all of our faults, all the guilt upon himself in order for us to be renewed, for us to
Mhm.
start again, to start a new relationship with those who we put at fault and to those who have put ourselves into fault. Yeah.
We could not really avoid that kind of circumstances,
Yes.
right? Now, if we don't have anyone or anything to point our fingers to, then more often than not, we blame ourselves.
Yes.
So sometimes we condemn people if we blame, and we self condemn as well.
Mhm.
If we try to look at circumstances and if we evaluate that we are to blame because of that circumstance, then that's where blame game happens.
Yeah.
But blame game happens when we acknowledge that we did something wrong or
Mhm.
we might have fallen short from doing something right.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So that was a discussion last episode, and we have come up with a certain resolution.
Mhm.
As what Kavaizai mentioned a while ago, that we go back to who took the blame for us so that we would be cleaned
Yeah.
from our sins, and that is Jesus Christ. So in order to stop the blame game, then we have to, how would I?
We have to accept ourselves.
We have to accept that perhaps we did something wrong,
Mhm.
and we can only move forward if we ask
Mm-mm.
forgiveness
Yeah, that's it.
from God, and be kind to ourselves, and forgive ourselves as well. At the end of the day, forgive others.
Yeah. So you cannot move on because sometimes we cannot move on from a certain situation if we keep on blaming. So what's the point of blaming if you just can't no. What's the point of blaming? Because you cannot move on in life.
It takes a
sometimes.
toll on your health,
Mhm.
on your well-being.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to stop it, especially for people who really try to what we call this, they
Blame.
no, I forgot
What's
the term.
the term?
What's the term? Mga kavais, can you recognize the term? You beat yourself up. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the term that we keep beating ourselves up for the mistakes that we did.
Mhm.
So it's kind of difficult to move forward from that, or not to wallow into blaming and beating ourselves up. But we have to be reminded of God's love and forgiveness, God's grace for all of us, so that we can be back on track on how God sees us.
Yes, certainly.
And that could make things better.
Mhm.
So going back to the question or to the response of our
Kabay.
one of our kabayans. So the question again, was there ever a time that you blamed others for your own mistakes? So the answer according to KC, or itago na lang natin sa pangalang
Casey.
Cheese ball.
Casey Simol.
Yes, labi na kung maulaw kung mo-admit sa akong sayop, I tend to blame others to avoid humiliation.
That's
Mm-mm.
true. Yeah, I've also have a same experience like that, no? Because who wants to be humiliated, di ba? No one. It touches our pride. Matandog atong
It
garbo
touches
sa
our ego.
Yeah, our egos.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was there ever a time that you blame others for your own mistakes? It's human. And we
Mhm.
have the propensity to blame others or to blame ourselves because we have this sinful nature, the carnal nature to sin ba. So
Mm-mm.
it's one of the consequences of that. Now, what can resolve this? We have mentioned that a while
Yeah.
ago. We go back to God's love for us, God's
Yeah.
forgiveness and grace to all of us.
And also to remind ourselves that you are not your mistakes.
Yes, we are not just defined by that.
Mm-mm.
So we have the second question. How can a person counter the blame game?
Mhm. What's the
And
question?
according to HG, I think the only way to somehow avoid and counter blaming is to be honest with yourself 1st.
Mhm.
Because for me, nothing works better than honesty.
Yeah.
Big words.
Yeah.
Do
Actually,
you agree, Zai?
yeah, I do. Actually, I really miss Kabaydale because I had a lot. I learned a lot from his class actually. So he told me that the person you will only if you're honest with yourself and you know that you need help or something like that, if you know that you blamed others, then
Mhm.
that is where you can grow. So honesty really
It's like the
comes
first
along the
step,
way. Yeah.
no, for growth and for changing,
Mm-mm.
no, transforming and renewing ourselves. Because if we don't acknowledge and we don't have any awareness as to which areas we need to improve, and if we don't admit that these needs improvement, then we will never grow.
Mm-mm. Yeah,
Mm.
basically.
So, we have to, tama gyud ni siya. Tama
Yeah,
niya
to be
to ang-
honest.
Diba,
Sakto
because
ka,
in the first topic that we had,
Yeah, we all.
hindi ka sayang because tanggap ka.
Mhm.
Then the first step, no,
Yeah.
to knowing our worth is to be honest
Yeah, yeah.
what areas we need to improve.
Mm-mm. To know what we need to because you don't know what you need to work on if you don't identify those as we said before. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
So we have, if we are blaming ourselves, we have to know
Yeah.
which areas or what happened.
Yeah. Also, we need to know why we blame them. No?
Because basig, we are blaming others for the mistakes that we cannot accept ourselves.
Mhm.
That's why we're blaming others. Okay?
I
So
think
much
it's enough.
for this discussion because again, we have two very important people, VIPs gini sila, mga
Yes.
kaways. Ano sila sa kilid na mo? Nagpanikad. Nga mo anhin na dere with
Yes.
us, Zai.
I think they're also excited to come in our very beautiful love seat.
Oh.
Eh.
Well, they're happy together.
Yes.
Okay, so who will introduce them?
You introduce them because you're closer, especially to their youngest.
Okay. Now, without further ado, we're going to introduce our two guests. They are Mr. and Mrs. Couple gyud.
Gani.
Nag-invite
Ay,
you tag
love seat.
couple. Oo.
Of course.
So we have Mr. Godilio Garma Jr., the Dean of Onyx Dormitory Hall here in Mountain View College, and Mrs.
Siya.
Carol Keith, aka Apple
The apple.
Garma, no, faculty
Yeah.
from the School of Arts and
Yeah, you guys
Sciences.
just come here.
Welcome.
This is the love seat.
Yeah, it's the love,
seat. Kavaydel would be jealous.
Yeah.
Because he would not be sitting in that area and he would not sit with anyone.
He'll be sitting on the floor.
So, hello, Kavay Apple and Kavay Tata.
Hello, good day to both of you and to our viewers. Hi. We're happy to be here. Thank
Wow.
you for the invite. Although at first we were like, are you sure? It's us.
Yeah.
How about you? Are you
How about you,
nervous?
Kavay?
A little bit. Artista na ko ron.
Celebrities in the making. Do you have anyone to shout out to?
Yeah.
Mm.
Dila sa son.
Oh.
Mga special mention ng mga guests. Ay, mga guests naman
Mga
inoon.
people.
Mga people, loved ones, friends.
Who do you want to greet?
I would like to say good day to all who are watching right now. We are happy that we are invited here
Mhm.
in the what we call this Vege-Meet.
Yeah,
Vege-Meet.
Vege-Meet. GluTeen podcast.
Thank you for this invitation.
Thank you for coming.
We'd also like to greet our 3 children, Ishi, Jackie, and Andy. Hi,
Wow.
girls.
Hi, hi! So next time, sila na po datong i-guest.
Wow.
Yes. No,
Children
I think they'll be
edition.
roaming around here now.
Lingaw siguro kay Nasay.
No?
So, we'll go into our discussion because Isai and I were talking about blame game.
Mhm.
And then the last episode with Kavai Dale, we talked about how many get to experience that siya na siya phenomenon.
Emotion.
That
Is it an
emotion.
Condition.
Yes, experience. Mm-mm. So, we want to ask some experts.
Oh,
who-
expert.
Yes.
experts in knowledge in,
An experience.
and in
Wise.
experience. So,
Wisdom.
do you have any question in mind at the moment, Kavaizai, for them?
I think the question here, for me, let me think. Oh, yeah, very simple. Have you ever experienced blaming others or yourself?
Who'll answer first? You want to
This is an experiential kind
Yes.
of question.
We're doing an experience, what do you call this? Appreciative inquiry.
I think we'll start
It's a different.
with before you got to have that feeling of blaming other people.
Mhm.
You have got feeling of guilt first. I mean, if you've done something wrong to yourself or to others, then the moment you realize that you've done something wrong, you realize then, oh, why am I feeling this way? So that's
Mhm.
actually guilt. Or like, oh, I've done something wrong.
Mm-mm.
So that's actually guilt.
Mhm.
After you process the guilt feeling, then you start asking, why does this happen?
Mhm.
Who to blame? Is it myself, the circumstance, or the people around us?
Mhm.
Well, human as we are, no, it's a natural phenomenon that we feel certain guilt. It's really a natural thing for humans to feel guilt about. But blaming is actually a choice.
Mhm.
It's a choice.
Wow.
You have options like to blame yourself, to blame others, or learn from it, but not blame anyone at all.
Mhm.
I think that's my take for blaming and feeling guilty.
How about you, Kavaita?
Actually, I cannot remember a situation that I blame others for a
Mhm.
mistake or me blamed by others for a mistake. But blaming myself, I had a particular event in my life
Mhm.
that I blame myself.
Mhm.
And that's when we lost
Mhm.
our son.
Mm.
I put all the blame on myself.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
But how were you able to move
Yeah.
forward
To
from
overcome that.
it, Kavaita? Like, it's so difficult
Yeah.
to lose a loved one.
Mhm.
I remember him saying in many of our church appointments now that having a son, a firstborn son, is a forever joy,
Mm.
but losing him in your very own hands is forever guilt. That was one of the most painful statements I heard from him. But I don't know what happened along the way. Acceptance for that certain event in our life made it was so natural. I don't know what happened ba? Why was it so easy to accept? Was it that easy?
Before we go to that,
Mm.
when Kavaita was blaming himself for what happened, how were you able to, interact
Yeah.
with him?
Uh-uh.
What was the dynamics between the both of you when it happened?
There was no blaming because we realized that that event in our life was beyond our control. It's a natural disaster. Nobody wanted it to happen. So when it happened to us, me personally, I was like, okay, in fact, it was not that painful because one of the thoughts that, ran through my mind at the moment was that it's not only us who lost a loved one. A lot of people lost their loved ones. In fact, many even lost 2, 3, 4, 5 members of the family, but we only lost one because at that moment we were so prepared to die. We're so prepared to die. But when we realized, oh, we're alive, we have so much thanksgiving to the Lord that we only have one member of the family whom we lost at that moment. But what's it? What
was in your mind at that time, Sir Ta?
I was blaming myself because I was thinking that I should be as the head of the family, should be the one to protect my children. But at that moment, I failed to do so. And yeah, for quite some time, naging siya sa kuang heart mo nga kanang.
But because we never blame each other, I didn't say anything like, oh, because he did not probably hold him tight, that's why. No, there was no like that. It's just it happened. So we have it's beyond our control, and we accepted that it's really, part losing is part of death and losing is part of life. So it's a natural phenomenon. So we just really have to accept it. Although painful, of course.
So it really helped Kavaita or Sir Tata along the way when he has a partner. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes, a wife who really did not blame him for what happened or did not blame anyone for what happened. So there are many elements manggod na murag ma-discussan nato from this kind of experience ba, because there are young people Paul, Sir Ta, who are blaming themselves for whatever is happening around them, and then they don't have that affirming relationships that don't condemn them for what they did. So all the more that they wallow into the guilt and blame game. Now, that's why it's so important, TI, to have that strong social support.
A healthy relationship at that. No? And also, it's very important to realize that there are different kind of guilts. Now, you have, I have here, neurotic guilt, that's blaming yourself. The second is denial of guilt, that's blaming other people. The third is avoidance of guilt, the feeling that, oh, I'm not guilty at all
Denying
of whatever.
it.
Yeah, you're denying it. And the last is existential guilt, which is taking appropriate responsibility and positive actions to improve the situation or yourself. So, when I was thinking about, was there even a time that I blamed myself? I remember we talking about it last time. And I said, wow, I don't think there was. But when I read this, when I had my research now, I realized that I am more of the existential guilt. That I am the type of person that if I commit something that's wrong, I process myself. What went wrong? And then I said, okay, if nakasala ako sa iya, I would rightfully say na, I'm so sorry for, tama ba?
Tama,
for, like, sorry dayon, ka naman inala. Or like, if I do it to myself, like, I'm a self-compassionate person. No? I easily forgive myself. And I acknowledge that if God can even, forgive us for the wrongs that we do, why can't we ourselves forgive ourselves? So I am the type of person who acknowledges that, okay, if I did something wrong for myself, then I forgive myself. And then, okay, what did I learn? I am that type of person. I'm into I'm a very positive type
looking
of person.
for solutions.
So like, for example, if we are in a situation where like, oh, nga nung naging animan ang situation, we're not saying, oh, ikaw man good because, so we're the type of,
tendency.
so we're the type of, okay, so we're in this situation, what are we gonna do? Like, I remember there was one time I went to somewhere and then like, oh, the guest room was not available. We only have a little amount of money. And then like, we were not blaming ourselves like, oh, ikaw man good because you did that or whoever is in charge of that. But like, we were like, oh, sige, given this, what are we gonna do? Okay, let's just find around, cheaper guest houses or hotels. And then we we find solutions to
forward,
and
move
learn from
forward.
it. Okay, next time we might do other things that would probably make things more sure of our destinations or our events that we go to. So stuff like that. No?
Wow, makasana all. That is a person that we aspire to be.
No,
di ba?
Having a healthy relationship could help us not to succumb to blaming ourselves like all the time. Now, Sir Ta, how are you able to move forward aside from having
How and how long?
having a supportive wife, a loving wife,
Sana
a compassionate wife, sana all.
Sana all. Kasi ako rin nagingon ba?
Yeah.
Actually, when that event happened, I take full responsibility of the situation. In fact, when I came down from the roof, when I came down from the roof, the first person I met was my mother-in-law, his mother, his nanay, her nanay, and we embraced each other. And then I told her, "Nay, I'm very sorry, Nay. Jab is not with me already." So at that point, I took the ako yung kwan, ako ang
Ready
self fault nga wala gyud nako siya ma-save. But the moment I recognize that failure or mistakes di man gyud siya malikayan, realize nako nga it is part of human experience, no? Human as we are, no? We are only created beings. Ang ato ang wisdom is kuan ra man gyud, finite ra man. So we cannot comprehend what is best for this situation. So we are prone to commit mistakes. So I think isa na siya sa naka-help nga na-forgive po na ako akong self nga. Mistakes, failure is part of human experience.
Kaya naman yung mga tao na ginabugbog yun nila ilang kaugalingon ba when they commit mistakes, when they make mistakes, like they cannot move forward from it. It's so difficult for them to move on from that. So, what's your or advice or
no, actually, in addition to that, I it was even weirder for me. Why? Because when that happened, before that, I have this. I told you, diba? I am the type of person who imagines the worst, so that when it happens to me, it would be easy because I have imagined this. I have already anticipated that eventually this will really happen. So there was a moment in my life when I imagined like, what if I will lose one of my children? So, grabe gid ang pain. But when it happened, I cried not because it pained me that we lost him. Although it's painful,
really
but at that
painful.
moment, I was so numbed. At that moment, I was like, the one time I was showering and I was crying. Lord, why did I not feel the pain that I felt when I just imagined it? You see how the grace of God, how He embraced me at that moment. So later, when we came back to MVC, our friends were telling us that, you know what, Paul, we were praying for numbness. That's when we realized it was God first and last in that moment. I mean, He was in control of our emotions even. That I imagine, nasuko ko sa akong self, kaya nga nung wala ko nakaka-feel of pain. Weird siya. But that after that, I realized it was God's grace that, embraced us in that situation.
So, amazing kayo, no? We have the human tendency nga, there must be someone, I should feel bad about this because this is not a nice circumstance where I am in. Pero if God is on the work, like, that peace that surpasses understanding, ginangihang isupply sa ato.
That's true. I think that's what we felt. The peace, knowing that God was in control and knowing that He knows what's best for our family. That gave us so much peace.
Oh, that is a very nice testimony because losing someone, it's so difficult,
it's
especially
painful.
for a parent.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
that's true.
I can say
And
anything.
the guilt feeling that I felt at that moment is conscious grabe gyud kay.
Mm.
Remember it was not only my son. We lost there are other 12 members
The family
of the family
his family, immediate family.
died that night. And I was naunta ko'y chance nga dili unta to mahitabo. Ako dapat desisyon dapat nga kuan because I was still managed to drive a car. If that moment I brought them with me,
You could have.
my thinking that time is to save the car, not so
Obviously, he was thinking to save the car at that moment because he never really thought of the water will go up that really high.
It was a typhoon.
Sendong in 2011
in Iligan City.
and Cagayan. That was the
Because at
most
the time, Mindanao is not a typhoon prone area. So it's like, okay ra ni, or ka nang na underestimate na to
That's
ang
true.
situation. Especially katupong sa Davao when we were experiencing Typhoon Pablo, many did underestimate the situation. Pero lala di ay siya. So it was really uncontrollable.
But kuan, I'm just lucky that no one blamed me from my loved ones. No,
So,
I never remember an instance that they blame me. Why anong wala man gyud ka nagkuan anong wa man. So that helped a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe because at that moment we were so ready to die. No? I mean, we surrendered everything to God because we were really on the brink of death. As in, we knew that at any moment we will all die.
That's a big possibility at that
but
time.
knowing that of the four of us, because we only had Ishi at the time and Jab, because we still have 2 kids pa man. So when we learned that it's only Jab that we lose, it's more of, Lord, thank you. Kay buhi pa daiming tulo. It's more of thanksgiving that the Lord spared us, the 3 of us. So whenever we go through difficult moments, or sometimes when our spiritual, kanang among spirituality dwindle down, He will always remind me, you want another sendong to remind us? Remember, we promised our son that we will be seeing each other in heaven. That's one of the things one of the thoughts that we hold on to, that we wait for the coming of the Lord very excitedly, because we promised at that moment. Can you tell us what happened when we said we will gonna see each other in heaven?
Ayun na kay mo hilak ka.
Si manghilak ng tanan dere. But can you share, Sir Ta?
He's teary-eyed.
We were on the top of the roof, no? Naanamil sa atop. And then when I saw the water, di siya basta-basta, no? Kusog kayo ang current sa tubig. And then I was aware also that the condition of our house. No? Nabalo ko nga ang among balay is, although concrete siya, but it's not really that strong. So I'm kuan ko nga kabalo ko nga dili gid mo withstand ang balay sa tubig.
Yeah.
So we were asking sorry with each other. Mami, sorry for
Asking forgiveness.
So we are asking forgiveness, and then that boy Job, I asked also sorry to him, and then he also said sorry also, Daddy, and then we prayed, and then after our prayer, I told them that if the moment the house collapsed, we might all die tonight. And then he was crying.
Yeah.
Jesus stopped the rain. Jesus stopped the rain. And then, but I assured them that even if we die tonight, Jesus promised that when He comes, we will see each other in heaven. And then Yes, we promised to each other. Yeah, and Job answered to me, "Yes, Daddy, I will see you all in heaven." And then,
Mm.
and that's the last.
No, he was singing pa.
Yeah,
He was singing Jesus
he
Loves
he
Me.
sang a
Ah.
song. Jesus loves me. This I know.
He
And then,
finished the entire song before the
Mm.
house collapsed. That's when the house
and
collapsed.
then the last, the voice again is he shout. No,
What was the shot, Daddy?
no, just
Shagit lang siya.
a scary
Scary shot.
voice.
Mm.
No? He shouted, and then that's
Mm.
what happened. No, wala na siya.
Mm.
Oh.
Ah.
Such
Actually,
a
I
painful
somehow know
experience.
the story, but
But we are, we are lucky that we have this hope.
Mm.
We have the hope in
Definitely.
Jesus,
Yeah.
that we knew that there's no end to death.
Mm.
That we knew that after that, there's still
There's hope.
There's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope. Jesus promised that He would come back and He would redeem us, and we are excited to see Jesus at the same time. We're excited to see our son
Yeah.
in that beautiful moment.
Mm.
Yun ang blessed assurance. No, that's why if we see how God works,
Yeah.
then we stop the blame game.
That's
Mm.
true. That's true. I think that worked with us.
Mm.
We there was never really the blaming game because we knew that there's Jesus, there's hope. We don't need to do that for ourselves. We don't need to beat ourselves up for that because we know, as I said, diba, He took the blame
Mm.
and He shed His blood for us. So why will I ever blame ourselves when God would be there to spare us from all of these feelings?
Mm.
And I would like to appreciate both of you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
It's a very painful
everyone.
story
Yeah.
to tell.
The kanang mo recall lang kaana, 'di ba? It's kind of painful, but you're brave enough to share that to everyone, to share that to us. So really appreciate that, and thank you for being
Yeah.
here. A lot of young people, and not just young people, even adults can really learn from the experience that you shared. How God works in our lives, even in our grief,
Yeah.
how God comforts us, and how He gives us peace that surpasses understanding. Diba ka ng incomprehensible sa human na understanding. Pero God, that's just how amazing God is.
Yeah.
That's true.
It might take some time for you to move on from that blame game. For your case, Auntie Kabay Apple, how long?
Awkward kayo.
Para kay Angko Tata, unsa ka how long were you able to kanang di ba it's a process man yun to stop yourself from blaming to stop blaming yourself. So para sa imo Uncle, dali ra pud ang process nga ano nimo.
I cannot really remember how long the
Blaming.
the blaming, but dili magid siya ingon anak kadugay. Ang kuan lang man gud sa ato, because we are Christians,
Yeah.
Seventh-day Adventist Christians. Not unlike other people who do not know God, death is the
The
end.
end.
Yeah, it's so terrifying.
So lahi ang effect man gud sa ato, dili ingon anak ka grabe gyud, because life does not end in death man sa ato. So, I think that's one thing na naka-help sa coping po nako.
Yeah.
Because we never really blamed each other or blamed Him for that. And I think the process was that we talked about it. We shared the story. So knowing that, people are being inspired of how we cope with the situation, give us a lot of hope and a lot of relief ba na it's okay. It's okay. Na? And we actually, we really talked a lot about it, like, what was our feeling about it and all that. So it's a lot easier for us to cope with the situation. And then eventually we had another child. So Jackie came and then Andy came. So although nobody can replace him, but the addition in the family brought us so much, smile and
Joy.
happiness and joy to our lives. Although we don't really forget him, but the pain is not that much painful anymore. That's not really that painful. As I've said, because we have God, we have Jesus.
This is a beautiful testament, Kuzai, among
Yeah.
our young people who may be suffering from blaming themselves. There is hope, and God forgives. God loves us. God is so gracious to all of us. That's why, no, that's why we must ask ourselves now: is it still worthy to blame ourselves
Yeah.
if we commit mistakes? Because how God works, it's beyond what we can comprehend.
Yeah.
Now, do you have anything to say about
Yeah.
these
To
young
share.
people who might be experiencing some blame game?
I think one of the best things is acknowledging. You acknowledge. So if you have done something wrong to yourself, for example, or to other people, you acknowledge. That's existential. That you acknowledge and then you process yourself. That there could be good about all of this that will come out. And then be compassionate to yourself and be compassionate to others. So you speak kindness to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. No, it's hard, but you really have to, practice that self-compassion. So when you make mistake, apologize. Is it easy ba to apologize? No? In our relationship, it's really easy. Sorry, dad. Kung nasuko ka. Sorry kung
Tinuod, Sir Ta.
yeah. That's why wala yung mga nga magrabe ka mga hurt feelings, because we easily ask forgiveness if we commit something. And then you encourage other people also, no? And then I actually have here my offer to help someone with something if they're that's why compassion is not only about other people, but you also have to be compassionate, no, of yourself, because you cannot share something to others which you do not have. So you can't be compassionate to other people if you're not compassionate to yourself. So there's a saying that goes na you cannot pour perfume onto others unless you drop something for yourself. So it's very important to acknowledge that if you've done wrong, you acknowledge that you're wrong, and then you process yourself. As much as possible, don't blame others, or do not even blame yourself, but be compassionate to yourself and to others as well.
How about you, Sir Ta?
Just what I have said, no, nga, kuan, kining, recognize that mistakes, failures is inevitable. Yun.
Yeah.
That's part of
life.
human experience, no? So, tao raman kita. So, if may tabo gyud nga mo fail kita, wala, self-compassionate ta, no? If we forgive others, it's one pod nga, yato kung pasayloon na nga to ang self. And then if others commit mistakes that affects us, we try also to recognize their situation, no? Then maybe napod sila giagian nga kuan.
They're going
So,
to also know.
And then if problem arises, focus on the solution, not on the problem.
Okay, if we keep dwelling on the problem, that's where blame game doesn't
Yeah.
stop good. It's always, it keeps on repeating itself. So my takeaway for this, Zai, no, is really towards lang forgiveness and love.
Yeah.
Forgiveness and love. Good. The capacity to forgive others, the capacity to forgive ourselves. And we can't do that if there is no compassion and love. And it is only God who can supply this, because our human propensity, we condemn, we judge. So it's only God who would give us that kind of capacity and ability to forgive and to love. How about you, Zai?
For me, it's from their experience, from what I learned, is to look beyond the circumstance. Whatever happened, those shortcomings, those failures that happened in your life, there is always something positive to look forward to. There is always a positive thing that had happened to you. So don't dwell on the negative, dwell on the positive, because that instead of negative, the negative will only bring you pain. It will only bring you guilt, leading you to blame others. But if you look onto the positive side, there is always hope that will bring you happiness, and that gives you, a sense of meaning of life. So yeah, it's also a reminder for all of us that you are not your mistakes.
Yeah, hindi kayo
Mm.
ang hindi ka ang iyong kabiguan.
Yes.
So we are not defined by our mistakes.
Mm.
No, we're beyond that because
Yeah.
Jesus died for us.
Amen.
Hi,
Hi, it's a
what
very-
a heartwarming discussion.
It's very nice.
Ano, sa ako po dahil personal take po na ako karon, like they have gone through a lot, very
Yeah.
difficult situation, and sometimes kung naate ma-experience nga makita nato nga lisod na sa ato
Mm.
kay we wallow
Yeah.
to guilt, blaming ourselves. Pero if we compare ba
Mm.
the level of difficulty,
Yeah.
no, lisod kayo pero
Mm-mm.
they were able to move forward.
Mm-mm.
So it's also a very inspirational testament na we can also do it
Yeah.
with God's help.
Amen. Yeah, so I guess it's time for us to
To say goodbye.
say goodbye. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we thank you, Ma'am Apple, Sir
Thank you.
Tata,
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you also.
Thank you for the opportunity
Yeah.
to share.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, before we end, we always have this tagline, di ba? Kabe naman,
Yeah.
sir, ma'am.
Avid
Suon lang ni.
viewers.
Yeah. Avid viewers man na sila dapat. They must know. Okay? So, dito, let's look at
Asa
this.
gani ang wide na mo.
There, in this.
There, here.
In the
Mhm.
white stand. Okay? So, in the count of 3, let's say our tagline. 1, 2, 3. Sayang!
Saya the next episode, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.